Midway Gardens in Chicago was a sprawling 360,000 square foot entertainment complex designed by renowned architect Frank Lloyd Wright, yet it stood for only 15 years. Situated in the Hyde Park neighborhood at the far end of the Midway Plaisance, adjacent to Washington Park, the 8-acre site itself had a fascinating history long before Wright got involved. During the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, it was the location of Old Vienna. Official publications from the event describe how the ancient town hall was faithfully reproduced as it existed more than 150 years ago during the 16th and 17th centuries. It provides a date of construction as 1693 and describes how it is enclosed by walls and bastions. What's particularly interesting is that this site had a history of featuring similar elements even before the 1893 exposition. It was previously said to have been a mining camp with a similar layout, a complex of buildings accessed through a single gate, leading to a large beer garden, dining areas, a dance hall, and live entertainment. These hallmarks seem to follow the site throughout its history, regardless of its ownership or name. According to the official timeline, even though Old Vienna was a temporary part of the World's Fair, it survived 6 years afterwards before being demolished and replaced by the Sans Souci amusement park in 1899. The new name came from the famous palace of Prussian King Frederick the Great, known as Sans Souci Palace, which is a French phrase that means "without worry." Once again, we see familiar features: a beer garden, dance halls, live entertainment, and a restaurant capable of seating 7,000 people. Sans Souci thrived until 1913, when the owner, Edward Waller, is said to have demolished everything and commissioned Frank Lloyd Wright to design and build a luxurious, European-inspired outdoor beer hall with palatial summer and winter gardens. It went from conception to reality in an unbelievably short amount of time. Wright only began designing near the end of 1913, and the official inauguration of Midway Gardens was approximately 10 months later, on June 27, 1914. Wright later reflected on the project. "Well, Aladdin and his wonderful lamp had fascinated me as a boy, but by now I knew the enchanting young Arabian was really just a symbol for creative desire. His lamp intended for another symbol, imagination." As I sat listening, I was Aladdin. Young Ed, the genie. He knew apparently where all the slabs of the lamp could be found. Well, this might all be necromancy, but I believed in magic. Had I not rubbed my lamp with what seemed wonderful effect before this? I didn't hesitate. "When you get back to the office, Ed, send me a survey of the old Sans Souci grounds, then come back Monday," I said. "You'll see." He came back Monday. The thing had simply shaken itself out of my sleeve. In a remarkably short time, there it was on paper, in color. Young Ed gloated over it. Midway Gardens was designed as an indoor-outdoor plan that created a seamless experience for year-round dining, drinking, and performances for huge crowds. The enormous fortress-like complex featured yellow brick, patterned concrete blocks, and intricately designed balconies, terraces, and secret entrances. One of the most unique features among the elaborate details, and curiously one of the only pieces to be rescued from the demolition, were the ornate sprite sculptures. They were a motif throughout the entire complex, featured prominently on the massive fountain in one of the main interior spaces. Tragically, on the very day Midway Gardens opened, Wright received devastating news from Taliesin, his home and architectural base in Wisconsin. A newly hired employee had brutally attacked Wright's mistress, her children, and his staff before setting the building on fire. In total, there were 7 casualties and only 2 survivors, leaving Wright shattered. He never spoke publicly about the incident. Midway Gardens itself had only 2 years of operation in its original form before being sold to the Schönhofen Brewing Company in 1916. Renamed Edelweiss Gardens, it underwent changes Wright despised. Dance floors were added, stencils covered his original designs, and the focus shifted from sophisticated performances to vaudeville and cabaret. Eventually, it changed hands again, becoming the Midway Automobile Tire and Supply Company before its final iteration as a Sinclair filling station. By 1929, the once grand structure was demolished, but not without a fight. The building was so well constructed that the wrecking company went bankrupt during the process. Another company took over, only to lose money themselves. Today, the site only features post-World War II housing developments, and all that remains of Midway Gardens are photographs and fragments. Had it survived, it likely would have become a world-renowned landmark, an iconic destination for visitors drawn by its architectural grandeur and rich history. Instead, we're left to wonder why such treasures are so often allowed to vanish.